And we provide training for HR professionals and company supervisors, and we provide divorce coaching and case management, providing that guidance and direction that your divorcing employees so desperately need. Divorce is a huge disruptor, not only to the employee going through it, but to the company they work for. And our coaches here at Divorce Right have a very unique perspective on divorce. They have a deep understanding of the legal, financial, and emotional aspects of divorce, and they can handle the even highest conflict of cases with compassion and professionalism. Our coaches are trained to look at the entire picture, helping your employees make good decisions based upon their goals and their expectations. So, if you're an HR benefits manager or an HR benefits provider or consultant, please reach out to us and see if adding our suite of solutions is a good fit for your business. And as a reminder, we have SHRM credits for SHRM members, and we're going to post a link to that at the end of this broadcast so that you can click on it and make sure to grab those. And as always, I want to introduce you to Paulette Rigo. She is my dear friend. She is a colleague, and she is an incredible certified divorce coach and mediator. And she's one of the best in the business and is the director of coaching and case management right here at Divorce Right. And today, we're going to be talking about balancing work and the divorce process. We're going to be talking about tips on how to not let your employees' divorce process take control of their life and their job with my special guest, Jill Kaufman. Jill Barnett Kaufman is an LCSW, is a licensed therapist, a divorce coach. She's an author and a co-parenting expert. After going through her own difficult divorce, she made it her life's mission to help others not have it so tough. Boy, can we all relate to that. Her book and online course, I'm Getting a Divorce, Now What? And her transformative group coaching program helps parents navigate the overwhelming process of divorce with less stress, more confidence, and a greater sense of peace. She's recently married and is the mother of 3 adult children and 3 adult stepchildren. And she has a Portuguese water dog, and we always love animal lovers here on this show. Thank you so much, Jill, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So happy. Paulette, do you want to get us started?
Sure. Well, Jill, first of all, Vicki and I would love to, just extend our gratitude for your time and expertise in this conversation. It's always an important conversation, adding, clarity to this very overwhelming issue. So I know from the work I do, and although I'm not a therapist, many people have accused me of being one. And I say that with all due respect. So, got to have a little bit of divorce humor here and there. But the question I get is, wait, what's the difference between therapy, counseling, having a mental health practitioner, whatever acronym they have after their name, versus a divorce coach? Like, what is the difference? Aren't they the same? And there's a lot of confusion on that. So from your experience, because you are both, it's a perfect question. So can you explain to everybody what the difference is?
Absolutely. It's very different. And we actually, as therapists, have to take real care in how we manage those two different roles, because ethically it's unethical for me to present myself as a therapist and a divorce coach in one relationship. So I have to separate it out. As a therapist, I have to be only a therapist. And as a divorce coach, I have to be only a divorce coach. And as a therapist, what you do with clients is you look into their mental health. You have a diagnosis for them. So they're either, a diagnosis of depression or anxiety or, there's lots of different bipolar. There's tons of different diagnoses for people. You have to treat their diagnosis, and you have to work with them for their whole past. So you are talking about their childhood. You're talking about what led them up to what their current situation is. You're allowing them to process their feelings and express themselves in a way where you give them a ton of space for, to be able to do that. It's more passive than divorce coaching, and every therapist does things different. So some are more directive than others.
Sure.
But a lot of times you're going to really allow the client to be whatever they, want to be. So divorce coaching, on the other hand, is more present and future focused. So you're looking at the person where they are right now, and you want to get them to a goal, and you want to have a structure to get them to that goal. It's much more structured, divorce coaching, and it's much more, guiding them in whatever they need. So it's for divorce coaching, if they need help with their organization and planning and finances, those are specific things you're going to help them with. Whereas therapy, you're not really working on these specific tools. You may work with cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a tool to help people change their thoughts, if they have negative thinking patterns. So they could, there are tools that you use as a therapist, but they're more general as opposed to these specific things that clients are dealing with when they're going through divorce. Is that helpful?
Yeah,
I have always explained it in this way, that therapy is really about the why. Why am I here? What happened to me that got me to this position? And divorce coaching is, now let's get you to where you want to be, just like a coach would do for an athlete. What do you want to do? You want to play professional football? Well, then you're going to need to do this, and this, and then keep them on that path, and then make those adjustments for them. So yeah, I thought that was a great explanation. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add that divorce coaching, it has a different trajectory. The practical step-by-step process of divorce is not the expertise of a therapist. And as you said, going back to the beginnings of time in someone's relationship or childhood patterns is also not the expertise of a divorce coach. Now, there may be a little overlap naturally because people have habituations and patterns. One thing I also notice is that therapy is a long-term relationship. I've not known many people who have a therapist who only uses them for, a month or 6 months or a year. Therapy is a long-term relationship normally. And if you have a divorce coach and you're working with them for 20 years, that means you're going through a lot more than a divorce.
Yes.
We're here to help you. Yes, there is going to be some time to it. It isn't like, oh, come on in for an hour and let me solve all your problems. It's as Vicki said, it's the how to get you from point A to point B. So the time has a lot to do with it, that having a timeline that's more effective. So that's really helpful. And I know that I get that question a lot too. So now as an employee, let's shift our thought a little bit, a segue to how can the divorce process take over and take control of an employee's life and ultimately their job?
Yeah. So I'm just going to share a personal story first, because when I was going through my divorce, I was a therapist. I was not a divorce coach. And I was, counseling people during the worst parts of it. And I actually had acid reflux, and my stomach was making noises in my sessions really loud. And acid reflux is triggered by stress. And I also lost 2 sizes. So my clothes were hanging off of me. My stomach was making noise. It was so disruptive to my ability to be there for my clients. It was like, I can't believe I worked through that time period. My colleagues thought I was like sick or ill, because why was I losing so much weight? And, if I had had support, like a divorce coach, which I didn't know of back then, it would have been a totally different situation. And I don't know if you want me to share a situation with my client.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I have a client who, it just is a great story of what happened to her. So she was really, a strong worker for years and years. She was the breadwinner of the family. The spouse didn't work. And, that's part of the reason why their marriage failed, because he just didn't see all the stress that was put on her for being the sole breadwinner with their 3 kids. And she was doing really well. And then, she started going through her divorce. And she literally, she said the amount that she worked in 6 months was so small compared to what she had been doing. And she was amazed that she didn't get fired, because, they knew her well. They knew her potential. So they kept her on, because they knew that hopefully this was going to pass. But what we did together was get her, get a proposal, so that she was so scared that her soon to be ex was going to want alimony and, take, all their assets, and just financially, she had been supporting him all these years. And then the idea of him just taking her retirement and all these other things was so devastating to her. She couldn't function. And so once we got her with a proposal that he eventually took, it took a little while because he was a little bit stubborn, but she was able to start functioning again. And she was so thankful that her company kept her on, and that they, stood through this time period with her. But, if she hadn't had someone coaching her, I don't know what would have happened. Like, she probably would have lost her job. The company definitely took a hit during that time in her productivity. I mean, it's really rare that doesn't happen.
Well, the brain can only hold on to so much information. And when you're obsessing or catastrophizing and zeroing in on what if, as she was thinking, like, what if I have to pay Melanie? What? Now she's got the list of things she has to do at work, and the things in the back, or maybe the front, that are prioritizing her emotional well-being is coming to the forefront of her thinking. And once you have that temporary or permanent, shall we even say, I'm not trying to be legal here, but temporary order or some sort of plan, right? That
plan.
Hey,
Just a plan. When you don't,
that anxiety goes down.
Yeah, when you don't know what's coming at you, when you have no idea, we put them into, somebody wakes up and they find out they're getting a divorce one day, and it's like, boom, for whatever reason, we expect people to be able to get through this. It's like, you're getting a divorce. Oh my God. The systems and the processes that you have to go with are overwhelming. And the worry that you have about, can I keep my house? Can I keep my job? Can I keep my children? Right? All of that is on their plate, and all of it is distracting them from being able to perform at work, because you know what? It overwhelms their entire life. And to Paulette's point, their entire brain.
Yeah. I mean, I got a text message from somebody who had inquired about the work I do, and married 7 or 8 years, no kids, relatively simple case, right? Where you would think, just a little divorce coaching humor there. And he was like, oh, we're just going to sell the house. And he was ready to go put the house on the market. But yet they're still cohabitating in the house together. And she has no idea that he's filing or wants to file, and that he wants to sell the house. And I was like, by the way, once you file, it's a legal binding, issue. You're now embroiled in a lawsuit, and that could come back to bite you legally. So I think it's something, a question you want to ask your lawyer about. So, all those like what ifs. So, and good thing I caught him early enough before he just went and made all these mistakes that could really come back and bite him somewhere that wouldn't be so comfortable to explain that to a judge. So,
well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, avoiding mistakes that can really damage you. I've worked with clients as a therapist who have agreed to things that they can't afford or they can't manage. And, those mistakes will cost you going forward for the rest of your life.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There's ramifications, yeah.
Forever. I can't tell you, just on mortgage and the way a settlement statement is written, I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to that don't have the buying power for a mortgage to qualify for a mortgage anymore, because of just not knowing what they were getting themselves involved in. And
So
so great.
for those people listening that are in the not necessarily getting divorced, but you'd be surprised how many people this affects. So be careful what you wish for, right? So, the people in HR and upper management, or watching and in charge or overseeing employees. What is it that they should be aware of? What is it that employees need or would benefit from? I think is a better way of wording it. How can they help benefit their employees so that they are showing up on time, coming on time, not leaving early, being productive, and really being a loyal, productive employee? What can they do to help them?
So the biggest thing is that most people going through divorce feel an incredible amount of shame. And so they are not going to talk about it with their colleagues that they're going through divorce unless there's something out there that lets them know there's a service that they have, or there's an opportunity for them to take advantage of something in that their company provides for them. So something like having a benefit to talk to someone. I know even the companies that just have a lawyer benefit, if they can even talk to their employees about they can use this lawyer benefit for a consultation for their divorce. Whatever the company has, make sure that it's widely known. Make sure that you
Yes.
let your employees know that they can take advantage of whatever benefits they have over and over again, because you may tell them in January, but they may not start their divorce till June, and they're not going to remember in January that this was offered to them. So every month, maybe
Right.
put it in the newsletter that this is this is
Just
an
in case you ever need this. Right.
option.
Right. Because, when you onboard a new employee, there's a process of getting acclimated to not only your desk and your work and your peers and expectations, but there's, a schedule and a protocol and standard operating procedures and all those other corporate things that people have to get acclimated to. And then they get that little brochure or flyer about their 401k or their dental plan or their medical plan or what other benefits they have. And to have that in front of them to remind them, hey, if you don't need this, awesome. But just in case you do, it's there. And that constant reminder is just, it's comforting. And then they might read and go, oh boy, I hope I never need that. But that's going to be in their mind of like, oh, there's something there that's going to help me. And that's the first thing they're going to do is get that help that they so desperately need.
And they're overwhelmed when they first start their divorce. So if they see it, they're not going to look for it.
Right.
But if they see it, that's coming
Little
up.
brochures, right?
Yeah.
It's a challenge, and with divorce coaching, it's in that we're new to the process, right? A divorce coach is something that people don't automatically think of, like, oh, I need a divorce coach. So that communication with employers to employees is critical. And working with firefighters and police officers, we want to work with their chaplains, right? To say to their chaplains and their benevolent officers and association presidents to say, remind your guys and girls that this is something that's available, because the chaplains are and they also, many of the larger police departments and firefighters have their own therapist on staff. So we want to work with them. We want to get them everybody needs to know that this is a service that's available, to communicate to their employees to say, you've got this, pick up the phone and make a call, because this is going to save you a lot of time and money. But, one of the things that you said, and then I'll let you get back with anything that you want to follow up with, but the statistics are that 92% of employees do not tell their employers until after their divorce is final and they have to change their insurance. And that's the only reason they tell.
Yes.
Imagine, right? Exactly. And a shame. They think the number one reason is they think they're going to lose their job. They feel that the spotlight is suddenly on them. And let's face it, they know they are not as effective during that time. They know that, right? Number two reason that they quit is shame and embarrassment. Number three is they don't want to be a part of office gossip.
Right.
So, right, they don't want to they don't want to have people talking. They're afraid, even though your HR department is kind of like, sealed, confession, right? That goes nowhere. But the fear is still real that it will get out to the rest of the community, and there's still a lot of shame. One of the things that people tell me, they go, how is there still shame around divorce? Half of the people get a divorce. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, because
It
when you
doesn't.
are going through it, it's different.
It
You're
is.
the one who feels like a failure. You're the
Right.
one who knows that everybody knows that this has failed. It's a public thing that people know. And
That chatter at the water cooler, they just
Yeah.
don't want to be.
It's a perception that is slowly changing, particularly those of us that have been divorced. I mean, you're getting remarried. Congratulations. Oh, you're remarried.
I'm
Yeah,
remarried. Yeah.
yeah, remarried myself too. And life goes on. Not that I run around telling everybody, "Oh, life goes on. You'll be fine." That's remarriage humor. But it is important that they feel that even though there's that embarrassment or that shame or that feeling of failure initially, and everybody feels that way. You've got to go through those stages of grieving. If you don't, you're probably going to need a therapist, and for a while, right? And that's where the therapist really helps, is if you're like, I'm fine, everything's great. Why? Is there a problem? Those are the people that you probably go, have you had any mental health help? So it's a very different energy between the trajectory of processing the emotions versus let's get you all through the knowledge of it. So the options that you have of how to divorce with grace and wisdom and dignity and success. And also, what do the courts care about? What are the facts, of your particular case? How long have you been married? Do you have children? Is it amicable, uncontested, or are we going for trial? A lot of it depends on the nuances of their particular case. And those aren't things that a therapist even knows about,
No.
even if they've gotten divorced 5 times, right? It's a different idea. Yeah.
So let me ask you, as we talk about this, what do you do and what can you offer to make sure that employee is able to function at work?
So getting them the right support is huge, right? So, getting them, like what I did when I went through my divorce is I hired a divorce attorney, gave her a retainer. That is not getting your employees support. That is getting them the legal part. But I always say divorce is 80% emotional, 10% legal, and 10% financial. So you're getting them a very small part of what they really need. They really need possibly a therapist, a divorce coach, a financial advisor, there's a CDFA, there's things that they need, but the divorce coach is really going to help them find out what other supports they need. And so it's really, really important to get them that kind of quarterback, that
Right.
divorce coach, to help them put into place all their other supports. If they just have that lawyer, they're missing a whole bunch of what they need when they're going through divorce so that they can function.
Well, one of the things that we are able to do is we can work with your employee with your EAP plan. So to your point, if they offer legal services, we can even help them research and do some, looking at their reputations and what type of cases they work best with. We give them, questions for interviewing questions. But we also sit there and go, hey, you know what? Your EAP plan provides mental health support. Let's make sure that we use that benefit. So we're very pro EAP plans and whatever those employee benefits are. We want that employee to be able to use them and support them. So now about kind of work-life balance, right? How do you help that employee kind of balance their own divorce process with their, they got to show up at work. Divorce is a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 industry, right? So they have to go meet with, with a judge. I had to do it probably, I don't even know how many court appearances that I had. So how do you help them balance that and their work schedule?
So this is where, someone who can guide you in this way is so important, because as a divorce coach, and as a parent educator, I know that you're going to have to think about what your future schedule is going to be, your parenting schedule. You want to talk about that now so it fits in with your work schedule. What's the custody? What are you doing right now before you get that permanent schedule to split up childcare responsibilities, to make your lawyer appointments, or to make, a court appointment? Maybe you can offer a flexible schedule. This is my Portuguese water dog just came in. So,
Hello.
maybe you can offer, they can make up some time if they have to, do a number of different meetings during a week. Because, sometimes you have very busy weeks in your divorce and sometimes you don't. If you do, you don't want to take vacation days, but maybe they can work later in the evening or come in earlier in the morning or work on a weekend. So I think flexible scheduling, provided the employer knows that this is happening, offer some of that, I think would be really helpful to their employees.
And I would say that by offering divorce coaching as a part of an employee's benefit package, shows the employee that there's a cultural shift here, that it's okay to walk into your HR office and say, I'm going through this. Because what we want and what we always hope for is that we can get somebody when they're in that thinking about it stage, right? So that we can help manage it from the beginning. We can help them, we can meet them where they are, but getting them so that they make those smart decisions early, from that real estate transaction that Paulette was talking about, that can be life-changing. So it's, and of course now with child schedules and all of that other stuff too, that's going to be changing. So how do you help those employees with children? Now they're a single parent. How do you help them manage those responsibilities, with, post-divorce and with their future work schedule?
Well, so, depending upon what their parenting schedule is, you want to make sure that they have coverage for their children so that they can work. I know some companies offer childcare, that like emergency childcare and helping them find childcare. So, anything like that would be very helpful for, employees. There's also ways that you can encourage them. As a divorce coach, I would encourage them to switch off with other parents, other single parents, because they might have, friends who are in the same situation, and, they can drop their kids off there and they can take their kids. So, you really want to encourage the employee to talk to their divorce coach and find out what are the options out there for me. I know care.com is new, relatively new to when I had young kids. And that's like a great resource to find childcare. But, you have to, it's so overwhelming. I think the employer has to understand that, childcare is one little teeny piece of everything that a single parent has to put into place. So, you can't be responsible for finding them childcare, obviously, but maybe you have some resources or connections, within the benefit plan that they can have that.
As a divorce coach, I always like to tell them to have a plan B, and maybe even a C and a D when it comes to everything, because life is unpredictable and so is divorce. And ex-spouses can be particularly unpredictable. You
Right.
think you know them, you've lived with that man or woman for 20 years. Why aren't they behaving the same way they always have? Or maybe that's the problem. They are behaving the same way they have for 20 or so years, or even 5, could be a week and a half. So all of a sudden, because of the emotional aspect of it, as you said, 80% of it is emotional. And there's that roller coaster depending on what's happening. Did they just get an email from your attorney saying blah, and now they're reacting to you because of something? It's this vicious cycle, right, of cause and effect. So there's always a plan A, but watch out, they're going to need a plan B too, particularly with teenagers and let alone babies you can just pick up and take with you, but teenagers are not quite as cooperative sometimes. So it's important to have plan A, plan B, plan C, maybe even plan Z, so that they can at least know if this happens, then I'm not up a creek. I have a plan.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
You guys, this has been a wonderful conversation. I want to let our audience know that we have SHRM credits for everybody. So I just posted that link so that you can make sure to grab that code and grab your SHRM credits. Jill, thank you so much for doing this with us today. It was super, super informative. And I hope that employers can now start to understand that the really big picture around what their employees are going through emotionally. Next week, we have Lisa Zonder, who is a family law attorney and a divorce coach from California. And she's going to be talking to us about, because we also get confused. Are you guys lawyers? Are you? So we're going to be talking about that and how we seamlessly blend all of that together so that we can be the puzzle master. I always say, there's a big puzzle out there and there's a lot of pieces to put that puzzle back together again. And we want to help with that. So Jill, thank you so much for your time today. We are honored to have had you on as our guest. And thank you everybody for listening. And we will see you all next week. Bye for now, everybody.